We need like people everywhere. We need trained people at every sector. We need more people, but mostly we need trained people to fulfill the right job.
How can a set of skills lead you down the path to success? That's what we're setting out to answer on the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm your host, Michael Sangster. Join me as we unpack how leaders around the world have taken training and skills and turned that into a lasting career. Now let's learn together. Welcome back to the EdUp Canada podcast. I'm Michael Sangster, your host, and I am joined today by Rod Gilbert, president of the Canadian Construction Association. And there's a couple of jobs in Ottawa right now that are interesting, I would think, being in charge of CADC in the defense sector or working in the construction sector right now. I know there's a lot of activity around the education sector where we are because you can't build anything without the graduates that come out of our programs and community colleges. Eh, Rod?
No, we can't. Absolutely not. We need you.
And you've got a huge demand, but also, I think more importantly, a lot of demand, a lot of interest in governments wanting to meet with you, wanting to work with you to build Canada strong, right?
I don't know why, but lately we are very, very popular organization.
Talk to me about what you guys do, because you're a trade association, but also, I always say an association, you're helping your members do things better, but also advocate, right?
Yeah, that's correct. So we're a national organization based Ottawa. We're about like right now 18,000 members, but mostly our membership and our network, it's about 57 local and provincial association all over Canada. And really, you are correct. We are mostly a big advocacy group, and we want to help governments at every level, mostly federal, but also provincial. And we're also supporting our local, like with some municipalities all over Canada. We really want to help like public owners to develop and make a better public policy related to our sector.
Hi, EdUp Canada listeners. Before we get to the rest of today's episode, I'd like to take a moment to highlight one of our sponsors, CTMS Travel Group. Travel planning could quickly become time-consuming and overwhelming, especially for busy education teams. That's where CTMS stands out with their 40 years of experience. Their expert team provides customized travel programs, exclusive pre-negotiated rates, and full 24-hour access to real professionals when you need it most. And here's the best part. NAC members can take advantage of zero booking fees until December 31st. CTMS Travel, corporate travel made easy. To learn more, go to our website. We'll just dive right into some issues of the day because there's so much going on since Mark Carney became Prime Minister that is a game changer for a lot of different sectors. And I don't like to use that phrase, but we're looking at a major projects office located in Calgary, headed up from somebody who used to run a pipeline in charge of getting things built in Canada. This is pretty cool.
We've been advocating for that kind of or like major project office for years. Finally, we feel that these projects, which are needed for Canadian, like we need these projects, will finally like lift off and be put in place. It's pretty exciting. Again, still waiting for some detail, how it's going to work, the timing of it, the deployment of all these things. But we are pretty excited about it. That's a very good news story.
Pretty neat to see the individual chosen and the fact they put the head office of it in Calgary.
No, I think it was on purpose. I think the individual is going to lead that office. It's a very smart, very capable individual with a lot of experience. For once, I think government thought of outside the box a little bit. And for us, I can tell you, I was with my board in Halifax last week, Michael, and they are pretty excited about it too. So it's all good news.
It's not the only thing. So what kind of groups do the Canadian Construction Association represent? I think about big projects that are in that office, but I think about home building. I think about apartments. I think about air. What are your members doing on a daily basis?
So, for us, we represent like everyone, like the trade contractor, the general contractor, the civil sector is a pretty big part of our membership, like all the roads and the sewer and like pipeline, it's all bit of it. It's a big part of it. All the MSNS, sometimes people think about construction only like the people with the hammer and the hard hat and stuff like that, but so much more than that. There's a full industry around it, like the lawyers, the insurance, the surety, everything related to the industry. It's part of CCA also. So this is who we are. And the other thing that I would like to add, Michael, on that, like, because it's very important and like where the government wants to go, I would say that between 75 and 80% of our membership, it's really small companies. It's not only SMEs, it's really small company. And we have a big strong of people that are also like anywhere between 0 and 10 employees. And then we have a bunch between 10 and 50. And this represents like probably 95% of our association. So that's important when we plan future policies, public policies. It's very important to understand our sectors.
It's an interesting point you make. I always make one around healthcare. I always say a truck driver and a logistics department manager is just as important to healthcare sometimes as the nurse or the doctor. And people's heads turn and they go, "What do you mean?" I said, that hospital runs on the things that get delivered every single day. There's so many layers. So the construction sector has all these layers. I wouldn't have thought of the lawyer being important, but the finance person who makes sure that project runs properly, just as important to the project manager. We train a lot of supply chain management, project management people too.
No, you're absolutely right. Like every time I do meetings with public policy, like, or public owner, like I explain to them, today we're literally sitting in a room and you need to think about your morning. You woke up in your own house or apartment. That house was built by our own industry, which involved like trade contractor, lawyer for the contract, like real estate agent, like all this is part of our industry. But then you drive on the roads, which has been built by our industry too. And you go to the elevator, that's our industry also. So there's so many parts of our industry that people don't realize. And that's important for public policy people, that it's just more than that one person. We need to train more than that.
Yeah. And you've got to look at that whole complete infrastructure and how things work. It's interesting. I'm involved in a couple of businesses, and it was interesting what happened during COVID, because when pieces of that chain broke, it's amazing how fast things came apart in different sectors. All of a sudden, that truck wasn't rolling like it used to, or this wasn't happening the way it does. And you could see the domino effect that would go on, and you'd see that in your sector. So let me transition that to workforce then. Is there the key job right now, or is it you need trained people in every part of the sector?
We need like people everywhere. We need trained people at every sector. We need more people, but mostly we need trained people to fulfill the right job. And I think this is where, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but collaboration between what you are doing and what we are doing are key. We need each other. Not only for the needs of today, but we need to plan for the next year and 5 years and 10 years and 15 years what the industry will look like. And we need to work together with government to make sure that we have the right people in the right job. And often that's not that easy as you can imagine, Michael.
Well, I always use the statistic. There's a few, but there's one that's of interest to me. And I'm pulling a blank on the year, but we had 7 workers for every retiree. In 2030, we're going to have in Canada 2 workers from every retiree, and that's from Stats Canada. We have a problem.
And honestly, we've been warning governments for years that it would be a problem, that they needed to work with our organization like yours.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing that we forget sometimes, Michael, which is absolutely extremely important, is that you don't replace a worker that has been on the job for 30 years with a lot of experience with one newcomer into the industry, because you and I both know that, because let's just say we're a bit older, you and I.
A little wiser.
A little wiser, and all that experience, you need to gain it. It takes time.
Mm-hmm.
You need support, you need mentorship, you need training. So the gap, it's bigger than just the one-on-one as we can imagine.
It's absolutely crucial. We're working on it. The immigration issue is a completely different topic, but that has got to be a component of this strategic immigration, with people who are trained and their skills are accepted, and others who come and we train them.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. I mean, immigration could be a solution if you bring the right people in the right job. And you want to make sure that they're qualified, well-trained, and they can be certified. And as you know, the system in Canada is so complicated.
Mm-hmm.
It's different province by province. there's unique things in every provinces or sector. So we need to make sure that we're bringing the right people.
Mr. Trump may have helped us on that front a little bit because we're seeing some of those provincial barriers go down. We'll see in the long run whether they hold and stay down or continue to drop, because that's going to be crucial in all of this too, especially on recognition. The fact that a skilled trade in Ontario isn't recognized immediately in Alberta at times is a problem.
Yeah, you're right. There's a couple good things that came up from President Trump. Not that
a couple
of them, but mostly like all the understanding of the supply chain and the barrier between like the trades in different provinces are definitely some of them. But you know what? I think President Trump, for the first time in a long time, made provinces talk and have a real discussion about the challenges that we're facing. And I think right now we're at a place where everyone is willing to sit around the table and bring on like real solutions. So again, they're all good news, pretty exciting. There's a cost to it for sure, but I think we're all aiming for the same thing.
And a premier like Rob Ford, who is that genuinely collaborative type approach, he accepts that, wants it, party lines don't matter to him. And a new prime minister with a fresh outlook helped the premiers accept the conversation, I think, too.
No, absolutely. And even like, I think you're like me, and I'm lucky enough. I think I've been to every provinces in Canada just this year. And let me tell you, like,
everyone this year, I'm tired.
I know. And I feel for the first time in a long time, everyone is willing to work on it. Everyone is willing to chip in and say, let's find a solution. We need to work on the supply chain. We need to work on all these problems that we're facing. But mostly, let's work together to find a solution.
Let's get into one thorny topic, and then we'll wander back. What are the tariffs doing to your sector?
Tariff for us, as you know, we don't export as an industry.
Right.
We're not. It's not really the problem for us. The tariff that President Trump put in place are affecting members or part of an industry like steel, aluminum, softwood, stuff like that as an exporter. But for us, the biggest challenge is the counter tariff.
The import.
Because again, it's people, when they do that, they don't always understand our supply chain. And there's some material that is just easier to buy in the US, or some material are just available in the US. So sometimes people don't know that, but probably 90% of everything electrical or even in the mechanical HVAC sector, a lot of that it's coming from the US. And we cannot supply that material somewhere else. I always use that example because it's easy to understand. There's a reason why you have to bring a special plug to charge your cell phone in Europe. It's just because the standards are not the same.
Yes.
And we need to understand that the standard, a big part of it. And that's really a challenge we're facing right now.
And nothing worse than getting off the airplane and realize you forgot your adapter. Now it's a scramble, right?
Yeah, it's a scramble.
So let's pivot a little bit here. We'll get back to training, but how's your golf game this year? We haven't played.
I know. Golf game's difficult this year. I've not played that much.
You're working too hard?
I'm working too hard, enjoying every moment of it. But let me tell you, it's good. It's not good on my golf.
Rod and I are fortunate to play at the same golf course over the bridge in Aylmer, Quebec. For me, over the bridge. We may have shared a malt-based beverage a couple of weeks ago sitting on the patio.
Yeah, we may.
At the end of a good day. So talk to me about your own path, your own career. What's a skill that makes Rod successful? You don't get to that role without some success in life. And is it something you learned along your journey, or it's something you kind of naturally had?
I think what makes me successful right now, it's the way that I can adapt. I've had a weird journey. Like, as you know, I started in politics a long time ago. I've worked in kind of a pension fund. I had my own business for a few years. I was lucky enough also to work abroad. I work in Ireland for some times, developing all kinds of relationship out there. And I think that every one of these jobs, what I was able to gain is like, I was always able to adapt to every situation. And honestly, it's not something you learn at school. If a teacher would ask me, it's like, Rod, what should we teach the younger generation? And my answer to that would be, teach them that whatever they learn, they should always be willing to learn something different, but mostly to use what they've learned to do something they were not expecting to do. Sometimes young generation are coming out of school. First of all, Canadian are well educated, even in the trade sector. When you finish a trade school, like you're equipped to work on the sector, but what you work, it's so precise that sometimes you need to expand that knowledge.
I have the pleasure. I get to speak at a lot of graduations. So I really liked your perspective there about adaptation. And I always leave with a thought in any of those speeches I make and that is to never stop learning. And that there's something else you need to try. Embrace technology. I delivered a speech recently to a career college and said, embrace ChatGPT, embrace AI, figure out how it can make your life easier, figure out how to keep an eye on it. But anything you can do to make yourself better and make you do your job better, faster, quicker, these are good things. Don't be afraid of them, right? So it's that continuous learning.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Michael. And the other thing I would also add, don't ever be scared of trying stuff. Just try. Are you going to make a mistake? Absolutely. Like I make mistake every day. I'm telling you, every day I make at least one mistake, but I try stuff and sometimes it's working fine. Sometimes I find solution and I think just try. I think that's the what you should do.
I watched a video the other day. I don't know, Pete Sampras was one of the famous tennis players and his it was Roger Federer. He won 56% of his points. Roger Federer won 56% of his points and he was one of the best players in the history of tennis. You don't think about it that way. He just won the right points, right? He kept trying. So for you guys this year, we've got a lot going on. We got a budget coming, Parliament starting up this week. What is your biggest ask of the federal government if you could get one thing this year?
First, I like what they're doing on the investment and investing in infrastructure. So I think my ask is, we're facing an housing issue in some part of the country. For sure, it's worse. But, they announced that Build Canada own organization, and they want to build these, to start with 4,000 new houses. But I kind of have questions for the government, and this is where our main ask is, when you build houses, where are they going to take the electricity for these houses? We need sewer. We need new roads, because a house, it's not built by itself. It's built with a package that it comes with it, sewer, roads. If all these 4,000 houses have kids, where are these kids going to go to school? Are they going to have a hospital around it? I think we need to look at a bigger picture than just houses. Don't get me wrong. We need the houses, not the point. But I think it's more than just that. So my ask to government, you need to do all these things in collaboration with the industry. And mostly we want to make sure that when you take these decisions, they are aligned with provinces and municipalities. Because alone, nobody will be able to fix that houses crisis.
We sit on the sidelines to that same debate and go, okay, who's going to build them? How are we going to train them? Who wants the jobs? Who's going to go to work? The one thing I've seen is a generation now that does want to work. They want to be trained. They want to get to work. And what I like about our college is our average student age is about 36. And we're about 60% female. We're just in the process of doing a survey right now to update those numbers with Nick Nanos. And it's very interesting to look at that. But we've got a different generation that are retraining to go back to work. And I worry about those kind of, how we're going to find all these workers. That actually keeps me up at night because I am quite concerned that we are going to hit a tipping point here where things will start to come down a bit, fall apart a little bit in our economy and in our society because we don't have the people doing the work we need to get done.
No, you're absolutely right. And I would add to that, I think, Michael, you're right on. And I would add to that, once you have them and you train them, because there's going to be a gap. When you have them, you train them, they're willing to work for you. And honestly, I was not aware of that stat, but the fact that people are retraining, reskilling to come work in our industry, that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. But then we need to keep them.
Yes.
We need to make sure that they're there for the long term. And for that, we need to make sure that we have a long pipeline. We have the predictability of what's coming for the next few years, so we can keep them, make sure they're happy with us. And not only that, they'll be mentor for the next generation. So all this, we all need to work together.
What's interesting, we do a lot of training of healthcare workers. I live in Ontario. We PSWs, personal support workers. And the Ontario government stepped up and funded a bunch of that education for community colleges and career colleges to train people. But then the feds layered in some money around long-term employment money and helping boost wages because they saw the problem, the transition out. And we need to keep layering in those programs that keep people in those roles that are so crucial. You and I are of a similar vintage. We're going to need those workers at some point. We're going to need those care workers, and where are we going to find them and who's going to train them? So these are crucial things. And when you look at what happened with housing, and it was caused by many different reasons. It's probably the best example out there of some of the challenges we've got coming in this country. You put it brilliantly. I hadn't quite a thought about, you think about the building, but it leads to the infrastructure. It leaves the cost on a municipality to build the road. Are the developers building that? Okay, they're adding a fee, so that goes back into taxes. So there's a lot of layers to this that are going to cause significant issues.
Yeah, and the other thing, like talking about training, and you know that better than me, but even at the municipal and provincial level, we need to make sure we have skills within public service to build all these houses and infrastructure, to run all these projects. It's not always obvious. So there's no other way for us than to work as a team. If not, we're not going to succeed.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I always tell people who don't live in Ottawa, we get the pleasure of working with some extremely bright public servants. It is a profession that gets maligned at times, but some of the most brilliant people I ever met with in my career, or dealt with in my career, actually worked inside the federal government.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we need all these people. So we need to make sure that, but we need to make sure that they're stay current in their project, they're stay current of like, because it's one thing to procure all these projects. We want to make sure that they're aligned with where the industry is now. So I think we have a lot of challenges in front of us.
We'll get to a question we ask everybody to finish up, but you don't strike me as negative, though. You're still optimistic about things in Canada.
I am very optimistic, actually. I believe in Canadian. I think we're all there for the right reason. Anyway, at the end, Michael, we have no choice. We're facing like a challenge that we've never seen before. And honestly, I like working with the younger generation because I was unlucky to go through the 2008 financial crisis. I was there. I was working in a pension fund at that time when like literally the world was crumbling financially. And I want to make sure that the younger generation is equipped to face what's coming. But I think right now, I'm optimistic about the future.
It's funny. I will introduce you. You should meet a group we work with called Enriched Academy. Bring them in for your team, because a lot of our colleges offer their financial literacy program. It's actually a group that was on Dragon's Den at one point, but that's all they do is teach people about financial literacy. And that's one of the things we don't do enough of, to make sure. You worked in a mutual fund, you said, or markets, so you understand this stuff. But we all have to keep learning about money.
Hey, funny enough, like the school system, right? And I have kids, Michael, like they're teenagers. And sometimes I just ask them, like, can you just build me a simple budget, like really simple thing. You want to buy a car? That's okay. Like put a budget together. They don't learn that at school.
No, nothing. We can do that. We can add more of those skills. And I look to these people who go in and they get skilled trades training. Maybe they're going to open an electrical company. And I talk to these students all the time, and I go, you're going into plumbing? Like, the world's your oyster. You can go work for someone 9 to 5. You can pull some overtime and pay off your house faster. You can go open your own business. The opportunities in skilled trades are incredible. And all of a sudden you can have 8 or 10 people working for you, but you got to understand the financial levers so that you can run your companies properly.
No, exactly. I think there's soft skills there they need to learn. Financial, the marketing piece, like the communication a little bit piece. Like all of this needs to come together, and it's a mission itself.
Yep. One of the great things in our colleges too is that there's that smaller class sizes. They get a chance to interact with each other and work on projects together, but they all do practical work. They all do an opportunity to go into an employer for 6 months or a year or 3 months and actually get job ready skills. And what's amazing is how many of them get hired right on the spot. That company that you come in and work with alongside somebody in apprenticeship is probably going to hire you.
The possibilities are like huge. So I think you have to keep doing that.
Yep. Talk to me about the big question we ask everybody, because one of the things we've learned in our colleges, or I've learned since I've worked in this sector, is just that power of mentoring. I think we take it a little bit for granted because we've had somebody, but do you have one? Do you have a mentor that changed your career path and made things better for you?
Actually, I do have some, and I'm very proud. Like I will talk a bit quickly about two. Like Mary, like who was my predecessor at CC, was very good to me. I learned a lot from her, all good things about, and she was a woman in the construction world, which it's not always easy. So, but she's done very well. But I will talk about my first boss. Her name is Anne-Marie Laurando. She hired me. I was a student working for MPs. She always brought me to run some election campaign. And also she's the one who hired me when I work in my pension fund. So she was my boss a couple of times during my career. She's the one who really teach me how to adapt. using curveball that the life is throwing at you and be better around it. She was very impressive. I learned a lot from her all over these years. And it's funny, because she doesn't know that. Though she'd be surprised when she listens to the podcast probably. But
That's what we always ask people is, do you think your mentor knows?
I'm not sure she knows, but she had a big influence on me.
So
Funny enough,
you have a phone call to make. She's not going to find this podcast by accident.
no, I will make a phone call. And you know what? I had lunch with her a few weeks back, and now she's retired. And I can tell, like, she was very proud of me. It made me something. I think it was great. And we had a good discussion. And honestly, she's done. And I hope that one day somebody could say the same thing about me, that I was a good mentor for someone, and that person is better, and probably better than I will ever be because of that. And that's just great.
And we'd like to talk about this. We turn them into little segments that we publish on Mondays, or we release on Mondays, called Mentor Mondays. And it's been incredible to watch the interactions of the different people talk about the people that changed their lives. And say about half the people have said, I'm going to be a guess, a little lower than that, have said they didn't know. They don't think the person knows. And they've made a conscious effort to reconnect and say, this is what you did for my career.
Yeah. Oh, I think it's just great.
What's interesting for me is every episode I think of a new one.
Really?
I think of somebody who's just triggered me in a different way. A few of them bad mentors too. And we can all think about in our lives, what have we done that sent somebody the wrong message of how to do something? Because we all do that, right? Lose our temper, treat someone poorly. It's easy to be the other way some days.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I older I get, I reflect in how I act and how I am as a leader and stuff like that. But let me tell you, so that's funny that you mentioned that. So I think you can always learn even from a bad manager.
Mm-hmm.
And in my career, I've had one terrible manager, and it's not personal.
Yep.
But you know what? Today, I appreciate what he's done to me, because I've learned so many things about being a leader and what it should be, that I think it's still good.
Yep. But we can all learn from each other. We had Nick Nanos on, who you know, and from Ottawa. And Nick talked about whose mentor, who he still talks to, I believe was in his 90s. And this gentleman was still changing Nick's path, who's doing amazing things and is one of the nicest gentlemen in Ottawa. So we had a good podcast interview with him. So before we sign off, anything you want to let us know, or our listeners to know, about your sector, your association, what's going on that they should know that you haven't had a chance to talk about?
First of all, I can tell you that all the people that are working in our industry are committed to our industry, to construction industry. But right now, as the challenges we're facing right now, they are committed to Canada, to Canadians, and they want to work together, because we have an infrastructure deficit. We have challenges ahead of us, and they want to be part of the solution. So they are ready to work.
That's a fantastic message, because that is that optimism we talked about earlier. We're all trying to dig in and make a change and make things better. Can all make a little money along the way, but we're very fortunate to live in a country that has strong regulations, strong workforce, strong education. So we need to make sure we keep churning along in the same direction for a positive end. So, Rod, I'm going to end it there. This has been a really, really good discussion. I encourage people to check out the Canadian Construction Association website. They've got a little section in there. I think it was hiring matters, or jobs that matter. What was it?
Yeah, I don't exactly remember. But yes, you're right. And because workforce and training and everything related to our people are a big part of what we do, and mostly are really a big priority for us. So there's all kinds of information on the website.
It was inside the advocate section. I remember I looked at it because it had some neat boxes, and you could click on the stories. And if you're a student trying to figure out your path, the skilled trades is become kind of sexy again, but is a very stable, well-paying, consistent career. It's not going away.
No, absolutely not. I agree. I think that's the future.
You cannot fix plumbing with AI.
Not that I know of. Absolutely not.
I don't think it's ever going to get that good that it can get under the house and fix some pipes and do the things that we all need. Just have a problem at home. Rod's looking. I'm in a basement recording tonight. And there's a little trap door above my head with a broken pipe in it that I've been struggling to get somebody to come work and fix for about 6 months, because it's such a small little job. And they're like, we're on this site for the next 3 months. We're on this site for the next 3 months. So these are lucrative, positive, incredible career opportunities, aren't they?
Absolutely.
So Rod, thank you for joining us. I enjoyed the conversation. I will say the next pint is on me, or a glass of wine, I believe it is for you on the deck, down at the Rivermead, and we'll try and get a round of golf in before the end of the year if either one of us can spend long enough in Ottawa at the same time to do that.
Absolutely. So, Michael, thank you very much for the invitation. I think that was great, and I really appreciate all the work that you've done.
Appreciate that, and look forward to seeing you around the club. And with that, we'll sign off with this edition of the EdUp Canada podcast. Look forward to speaking to you all next week. Thanks for listening to another episode of the EdUp Canada podcast. We release new episodes regularly, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know when they are officially out. If you love this episode, please leave a 4- or 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts so that others can also discover how a set of skills can lead to success. Thanks for learning with us.